Okay.
Hello, welcome to AllPointsTV.com. My name is Sam Jahari, and we come to you live for Community Parent. And just want to bring you up to date on what we got going on. We are going to be in Waterford on November 5th at 7 o'clock. The address is it's at the Waterford Christian Association. It's 1585
Sarah, just it.
Crescent Lake Road, Waterford. We are going to be at the Lake Fenton High School November
That's it,
12th,
live there.
and that's going to be for the middle schoolers, and that's going to be at a 9:50 a.m. start. On the 17th, we are going to be at the Lake Fenton High School, and that's going to be for the high schoolers, and that's going to be at 1 o'clock. Now, for more information, or if you need to get a hold of me, it's Sam, capital S-A-M, dot, capital J-A-W, H-A-R-I, at communityparent.org. We would love to have you come and see what we're all about and what we do at these presentations. Community Parent was formed in 2011 after after we lost my daughter. She was 17, and she passed on February 14th, Valentine's Day. Then 2 days later, a friend of hers died on the 16th, both of heroin overdoses. And then Community Parent was formed to provide the resources to educate and ensure the safety of all our children. I got this blog that came across our webpage, and I wanted to share with you. This blog is Dean Definas, I believe is his name, and he writes this blog on the HuffPost, and he says, bigger U.S. health crisis, Ebola or addiction. And, he says that, Ebola is a terrible and a horrible virus, and it's a deadly disease. And he talks about, we lost one person from the Ebola, that a man that came from Liberia, and he ended up dying from it. But because of Ebola, and we lost this one person, on U.S. soil. The Defense Department has got a 30-member quick response medical team. Even though, he talks about that, yes, we should have this, and, this crisis, he says every day in the United States, we lose 114 people to drug overdose. And another 6,748 people are treated in emergency rooms for the misuse or abuse of drugs. Drug overdoses is the leading cause of injury death in 2012 among 25 to 64-year-olds. Drug overdoses cause more deaths than motor vehicle crashes. That's crazy, isn't it? I remember growing up, that was the number one killer, was car accidents. But overdoses have took that over. And drug overdoses, the death rates have been rising steadily since 1992, with a 117% increase from 1999 to 2012. Why is that? Well, I can tell you the big thing is this is where the opiates, the drug companies really hit us hard with these, prescription drugs and opiates. They felt that we needed to treat more about pain. When we've been using these painkillers forever for people that were dying. They didn't really have the science, or they didn't know what the long-term effects, because these people were dying. They were just trying to make them, where there was no pain in the end there. Um, I keep telling you that addiction is is uh, um, is a disease. They call it a brain disease. Um, and the best way to describe it for you is you just feel inapt. And a lot of times we think, people um, that they might be the captain of the football team or the basketball team or they're stars in whatever field they're doing, but they just feel inapt. They don't feel complete for some reason, and it's this sickness, this brain disease that they have. And a lot of times, these people that are addicts, they have a mental health issue also that's going on with them, whether it's depression, bipolar, or you know, ADD or whatever. They have these things also going on with them. A lot of times, addiction, there's a mental health issue that's also going on. And what happens is when they take their the medicine or alcohol or weed or whatever, they get this euphoria where they feel kind of like complete, I guess. I don't know. I'm just a father that lost a child, and I'm trying to educate and bring this to the forefront because, everybody in our system or our government and stuff, they want to just slide it under the carpet and say it's not happening. But this is happening in every home. This is happening in every community, every block. I don't care where you live. It has doesn't discriminate against anybody, and that's it. The face of the addict has changed. It's not these hoodlums in the back alleyways shooting up or whatever. It's my daughter. It's your daughter, your son. It's your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle. It's in every family. And that's why, I took on this war against drugs. Now, our government, they took this war on drugs in the 1970s with President Nixon, and their philosophy of taking care of this war on drugs by building more and more prisons, and there was no treatments. It would cost us a lot less to treat than to house people in a prison where they're not getting any better. 80% of our prisons are mental health and drug related. Isn't that crazy? But we just keep making more and more prisons, and we keep sending more and more of these offenders to more and more of their life being locked up. I don't know, a stupid person just keeps doing the same thing with the same results. It seems like they would, all these people that we have in office or these educated people, it seems like they would get wind of that. Well, you know what? We keep with the same results and we keep heading down the same path. Maybe we need to do something different. That's what I think anyway. What do you think? I would love to hear what you got to say about it. A lot of things that people don't want to, they don't want to open up on this issue because there's so much stigma that goes behind it. These are losers. These are, it's a matter of choice. Why do they just don't quit? Well, I'm here to tell you, I used to feel the same way. I'll tell you about my daughter. My daughter she was a beautiful, beautiful little girl. Everybody that she came across just loved her because she had a smile and she was such a loving, loving person. My daughter, she played sports. She was on the debate team. She was a very smart child. At 14, she lost her mom to addiction, to a heroin overdose. And Actually, she was 13. But at 14, my daughter started acting out and being rebellious. That's what I call it. A lot of times it's just we're in pain and we don't know what to do. So we start getting in trouble and we start drinking or popping pills, smoking weed. But I've learned that an addict, they just feel inept. They don't really feel complete. They don't know what's wrong with them. They just feel this inept. And I think, after losing her mom, she just felt this pain, and she probably just wanted to numb it, because I can relate to what she was feeling, because that's what I feel day in, day out. And I struggle with depression. I'm not going to lie about it. I do. But trying to get treatment, they just want to keep giving you pills, and one to go to sleep, one to wake up, one to feel better. It's like you're a walking zombie. I was around, I don't know, when Elvis Presley died. And that's what, he ended up dying from. Was, he was the same way. He lived on different medications. And this is what we become as a nation. We've gotten lazy, and we think there's a pill for everything, and we don't want to do the work, to make ourselves feel better. A lot of times they give you these medications, and one medication will lead to another, and it'll lead to another, and it'll lead to another. I heard a doctor speak about 10 years ago, and he was talking about, different medications, even over the counter. He says all these medications, they have side effect because they're synthetic, and there's always a side effect to everything, even over the counter, whether it's aspirin or something for high. I used to have, I used to get heartburn. Pepcid AC, 180,000 people die every year from side effects to medications. That's taking the medication the right way, and it's prescribed for whatever's going on, but your body reacts differently, obviously. Here's another thing I want to share with you, that for a medication to be put on the open market, it just has to show that it works 30% of the time. 30% of the time. And it becomes legal, which is crazy. Here's something that works for you. You go to a doctor, within 5 minutes, he's already prescribing you something. And listen, I don't say I'm a doctor. I don't say I am all I'm just saying is I'm a father that lost a child. And when I lost my child, I opened up my eyes for the first time, and seen reality, seen things for what they are. And that's what, hopefully when you hear my voice and you hear what I'm saying, it opens up your eyes. So to hold people accountable, I don't care if they're a politician or if they're your doctor or if they're the policeman or whoever they are, okay? Don't believe everything they tell you, and hold them accountable. That means, don't say, somebody else can tell or somebody else can do this. You need to stand up. You need to stand up. Well, losing a child, I just couldn't shut up. And the more I opened my mouth, it seemed like more people were coming out of the woodwork. And, to tell me that this is happening in their home. And I realized that there's an epidemic. And this epidemic is just not going away. It's just keeps getting worse and worse every day. They said, a report came out the other day, and it said there's a lot less people dying of prescription overdoses. But heroin has more than doubled or tripled. So what does that mean? Well, here's what I find out. That my daughter, my own doctor, my family doctor that I've been seeing for years, once he knew my daughter was an addict, he said that she couldn't come into his office because she was belligerent to his nurse or something. This is my own family doctor. He didn't say that we all couldn't come, just my daughter couldn't come. Then my daughter was sent to emergency room. And in the emergency room, I remember this doctor, she's just yelling at her. Why should I give you a bed? Why should I do anything for you? You're doing this to yourself. Well, you would think that a doctor would know that she is sick and that she has a brain disease. And nobody wants to be an addict. As a doctor, you would think this is a health professional that they should know that. Well, they don't. They don't, ladies and gentlemen. And these doctors don't have a clue. But they will hook you up on from their writing their prescriptions, then they don't want nothing to do with you. So what happens? Why has heroin gone up? Because when you're an addict and your doctor quits giving you your medicine, you turn to the streets. You got to have that Vicodin, or you got to have that cancer treating drug. Well, on the street, these things, they run $80 a pill, $20 a pill, $15 a pill. So what happens is they turn to this heroin that's, $5, $10 a pop. I don't care how much, you would think that, I had never put a needle in my arm. But you got to understand that these people, they're not thinking in their right minds. Because nobody would ever do that to themselves. But as an addict, you become your worst enemy. You become a liar, a thief. You will do anything and everything for your drug. That's anything and everything. You don't have any problems taking off your clothes for money, or that's stripping, or selling your body, prostituting. You become your worst enemy. You look in the mirror and you don't recognize who that person is that you're looking at. Everything that you've been brought up, your faith, your morals, your everything goes out the window. Everything goes out the window. It's really hard. It's really hard to say that. And it makes me think, the shit that my daughter had went through. And, as a parent, you, especially the fathers, you're the protectors. And I could not protect my daughter from this shit. I could not protect my daughter from the boyfriend that got her started. I could not protect my daughter from this sickness and this disease. My daughter was running away, and I turned to the professionals. Yeah, we'll pick her up, When we pick her up, we'll bring her home. It's not like they were going to go out of their way to look for her. Another thing, too. My daughter was skipping school, and, I kept telling the principal and stuff who, isn't there something like for uncorrigible, something that we can get me in front of a judge, to help me with this, before my daughter gets out of hand. And, this is all your, you just missed that date. So anyways, I ended up, my daughter pretty much cut school, and towards the end of school, she ended up running away from home, and she was gone for the whole month of June. And then at, I believe it was July 10th, I had this call from this police department, and they says, I want to know what this 15-year-old is doing with an 18-year-old boy. I said, well, my daughter is a runaway. He says, well, we don't have her as a runaway, you know? So here I'm thinking, well, I filed or I called the people that I needed to call, and they had written this down, or they got it on the computer, and they're going to find my daughter and bring her home. That was not the case. That was not the case. Well, finally, it took me a while, but I finally get in front of a judge, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, thank God, I'm finally going to get some relief. I'm finally going to get some help for my daughter, And, I stood up and I told the judge, I said, Your Honor, she's a good kid. She just, she got with the wrong person. And, here's an 18-year-old boy. She's a 15-year-old girl and this and that. And now she's, on drugs. And he looked at me and he says, well, Mr. Jahari, it sounds like you just want to blame everybody. You just need to take a couple of weeks and be home with your child. To be honest with you, I was dumbfounded. And I thought, what the hell? How did this guy get his job? What the hell is he doing? What the hell is he talking about? And to be honest with you, I had a probation officer that was sitting next to me, and I had this lady from the runaway program. And she just looked at me and she says, Sam, don't mind him. He's just a fucking asshole. Excuse my French, but that's pretty much it. It was so hard. I really didn't enable my child. And I reached to, I thought, the professionals to help me. And I found out that these people don't have a clue how to take care of these people with addiction. And the whole thing is, all I wanted to do is I kept crying to them. Crying, please don't let her just slide through the cracks. Don't let her slide through the cracks. Don't let my child die. And, she lost that battle. She lost that battle. I'm a strong believer that no one dies before their time. But the whole thing is, I lost 2 years of hell that instead of battling with my child and, in and out of detention centers, in and out of rehabs and stuff like that, that's time that we wasted. And there was so much anger and stuff. And that I could never get back. Brianna, she was born, or she was conceived I was using protection. I had went through the rubber, and she was conceived. And I says, oh, thank you, God, for giving me this child, because she made me become a father. She became, I had to be a man and stand up, and so I wanted to make sure that she got taken care of. Then for him to take her away from me, it was like, for the longest time I was depressed, I was angry. God, sometimes he has a purpose for us, and I just feel like this is my purpose. This is the journey that God wants me to go on. And I picked up this light, or this burning yearning inside of me that, I don't want people to remember her as an addict, but I want her to be remembered how many kids or how many people she saved from them hearing her story. And Community Parent and Chasing the Dragon has been in front of over 45,000 kids. That's crazy, 45,000 kids. And 3.5 years ago, if you would have told me this is what I would be doing, I said, you're crazy. I was never a speaker, or, I've always been in management and in sales and entrepreneur. But like I said, sometimes when God comes calling, you just got to answer. I don't try to preach to you. I don't, religion or whatever. I just want you to open your eyes and join me in this fight before it's at your doorsteps, if it's not already, because sooner or later it will be. And, how does addiction happen? Addiction is it's something we're born with, and it's 80% I would say would be hereditary. You know, and the other 20% is just the culture or the environment that you're in. But what happens is, like I said, you know, people they just they don't know really why they feel the way they do. I wanted to share this. This is a good friend of mine that I met, you know, after I lost my daughter, and he writes, you know, I grew up like a nomad. We moved from place to place. I always was a new kid, an unfamiliar face. I longed to fit in somewhere, no matter how I tried. I always felt rejected. My efforts were denied. I became like a chameleon. I could blend in anywhere. I still felt like a stranger, no matter when or where. As I grew much older, found work and a career. I hid my bitter loneliness with crack cocaine and beer. All my life I felt like I'm on the outside looking in. I'm living proof the Lone Ranger rides again. He says, funny, I still feel like the Lone Ranger, but I'm okay with it now. I still feel like a nomad, like I don't quite fit in anywhere, like I'm always on the outside looking in. I now know why I feel like this, because I belong in his kingdom and have complete faith I will join him there one day. Until then, I will do my best to help others save themselves from their addiction, then ride off into the sunset to find others seeking help. This is my purpose here on earth, and I will do it with courage, gratitude, compassion, sympathy, and grace, and in doing so, I will keep my serenity and faith. Here's what it is. Okay, a lot of times people that are addicts, when they get clean or really understand their addiction and they really understand their sickness, they want to help others. And with the stigma and you know how people perceive other people that's addicts, really this is the only field that they can go into. And it's crazy, but these are great people, very well educated. They could do anything, but by the time you know they get clean and stuff, they don't have a license, or they, you know, see, everything becomes about money and not so much about treatment. Instead of making it easier for these people to survive, they make it harder for them, you know, to get out in the world and be productive. So they end up falling into this addiction field, whether they're social workers or therapists or stuff like that. They want to give back, and they can relate because they've been there. They know the feelings that they have. I'm a father that lost a child, and I want to give back. I don't want no other parent to feel the pain I feel every day. The pain I feel every day. And see, when you lose a child, you just remember, you know, they didn't want to be addicts. They couldn't understand what they were going through. They didn't want to be an addict. It wasn't in their hands. So we try to educate. We try to make a change in the people that listen, that really want help, that really want to make a change. It's not that Brianna didn't want to. She went to many therapies, or you know, to clinics and stuff, rehabs. But it's like a cycle that when you go to these rehabs, you know, they send you away for 9 days, 21 days, 10 days, and the whole thing is they know that you're going to be back. And you don't really understand why would you be letting them out if you know they're coming back. And the way the insurance companies and these things go is they don't want treatment right now, or they're afraid they don't want to spend the money right now, but they're willing to spend like a little bit at a time instead of the one big lump sum and get this thing taken care of. Isn't that crazy? See, here's the thing that that's why I opened my eyes, and I questioned it all the way around. I questioned everything that happened. My daughter, she was so messed up this one day, and they caught her in a home. She had cut off her tether, and she was with this boyfriend of hers, and she locked herself in a home. They knew that where she was, so they went in to get her. And when they got her, she was so messed up. They sent her to the hospital, or well, first they sent her to the magistrate, and magistrate says, well, before we send her back to the detention center, let's make sure she's going to be okay. So what do? They send her to the hospital, and again, this doctor, she's just yelling at her, oh, you did this to yourself. And I remember there was a deputy that was waiting to take her back to the jail, and he'd say, you come from a good home, why are you doing this? And I, to be honest with you, that's how I thought. I thought it was in her hands, and she was doing this. I don't know why, but I've educated myself to know that it's an addiction, it's a sickness, and it wasn't in her hands, and that's why she couldn't understand. But anyways, she was so messed up, so they sent her to the detention center afterwards. And, there was a guard that wanted her to do something, and she was so messed up, so she talked back to this guard, and she beat the shit out of my daughter. I came to see her a couple days later, and her jaw was kind of like all twisted and stuff, and she was talking funny, and I'm like, what the hell happened to you? She said, oh, she beat me up, Dad. And it's like, I'm just so pissed off at everybody in the system. I'm pissed off at the law enforcement. I'm pissed off at the social worker. I'm pissed off at these treatment centers. I'm pissed off at the judge. I'm pissed off at everybody. But what does that get me? It doesn't get me anything. Okay? But you hearing my voice and hearing my story, that gives me some kind of relief, because I can share that with you. Hopefully we can make some changes within our system, within our laws. Hopefully, these law enforcements or whatever, maybe they'll check themselves in and they say, you know what, maybe I should have tried a little harder. I feel like these people that, get into the system, they're there for a reason. They're there to help and serve and protect. And somehow, sometimes, that power goes to their head. And they see these things day in, day out, that they just feel everybody's the same route. It's like a molded thing, but it's not, These are good people. Because that's how I felt. I felt like they looked at me like I was to blame. Like I did something wrong. I thought I was a good parent. I was there for my daughter for everything. I coached her in soccer. I coached her in basketball. I was there for her debates. I was there for her everything. She was my pride and joy, and I felt so much pride watching. That's my daughter. That's my kid. Well, my daughter, she lives in me. And she lives in me to tell you that this addiction thing has got to stop. You see, we can sit by the wayside and not do nothing, and we'll get the same results. I had this senator one time. He says, Mr. Jahari, it's a good thing what you're doing, but you're not going to make any changes. You see, there's so much money in drugs, so much corruption even with some of my own brotherhoods or whatever, is the way he said it. So he knows and he sees this corruption. And the whole thing is money is driven. Money is evil. And that's what everybody is, whether it's the drug companies or all these, everything is driven about money because they don't give a shit about you or me. All they care about is their bottom line. And I feel sometimes that it doesn't matter how many people die, long as somebody's getting paid. Well, with Ebola, we jumped, Mr. President, let's get this team in place and stuff like that. But 114 people die every day of addiction, and we don't really hear too much about it. Actually, we're starting to, aren't we? Every time you get a newspaper or on TV, almost every night, what did they say? Heroin is making a comeback. Heroin is making a comeback. Heroin is making a comeback. Why? Why? Because of these opiates that these people get so much education and become doctors. They're driven by money because they are sent to schools by the drug companies. They are their drug pushers. They are their drug pushers. I not knocking all doctors. There's some good doctors. How many? Really give a shit when they come to you go to see them. Well, it's like this. I'm a strong believer that if you're giving your money, I don't care to who it is, they owe you because you can spend it anywhere you want. You're there at their office or at that business. They owe you. You see, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in sales my whole life. And I look at it this way. If you're not thankful for my dollar, there's 10 or 20 people that are. If you don't give a shit about me, there's 10 or 20 businesses that are. But it's upon you, to go that little extra mile. It's all right to go 10 miles out of your way to give your money to somebody that really cares about you. As a doctor or as a physician, you need not to take the one doctor, believe like he's God. Okay? There's only one God. That means get second and third opinions. Be happy with what you're hearing or, what the game plan is. About a month ago, I seen something that came up on Facebook that somebody sent to me, and it was a doctor out of Detroit that pleaded guilty. This was an oncology doctor that he was telling people that they had cancer so he can push and sell his chemotherapy. And he was a multi-millionaire. How many people died at this guy's hands just so for the mighty dollar? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? And the whole thing is, we have a certain percentage, I don't care, in any kind of profession that you want a look at. Whether they're policemen or whether they're teachers or whether they're ministers or priests or doctors or nurses or lawyers. There's a certain percentage that they're not good people. There's a certain percentage of evil in all of these. There's a certain percentage that you need to keep your eyes open and don't put all your trust in them. Does that make sense? Well, hell yeah, it does. Hell yeah, it does. Well, that's what it is. I want to open your eyes to true facts. Okay? Politicians. All right. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent or whatever. Hold these people accountable because you see, it's the same thing. They get into office and greed and money runs them. That's how they make all their laws and everything else. You know, hold them accountable. They work for you. We are the people. But if you're sleeping and you're not watching what they're doing, it doesn't matter, huh? You can only hold them accountable if your eyes are open and you're watching the game. I had a good friend of mine, he says to me, he says, a lot of times they got you so running around worried about your bills and all this just so they can get away with whatever they want to do. It's getting off the subject, isn't it? Not really. Not really. If you think since 1970s, if we really wanted to go after the drugs and stop it from coming into our country, we couldn't have. Well, here, let me, here in the U.S., we're 5% of the population, but we absorb 95% of all medication that's made here. Now, the other 95% of the population, they only absorb 5% of the medication. Now, what? They don't have pain? Yes, they do. And I'll tell you another thing, too. You can go to Canada or go to Mexico and the medication over there, you will get it 50 to 80% cheaper than you can get it here. Isn't that crazy? I remember I went to this doctor. I had, I think I had Blue Cross Blue Shield at the time. And the doctor's visit, Blue Cross Blue Shield will only pay $28. So a couple years into it, I didn't have insurance. And I went into his office and it was $60. I said, well, when I had insurance, he would only take $28 from this insurance company. Why don't you just take $28 from me? Oh, no, they send us so many patients and stuff like that. It's not about you. It seems like it should be about us. I can't afford to give you the $60, but I can give you the $28. No, it doesn't happen like that. Here's the different things that we need to open our eyes to, huh? Why, outside the U.S., our medication, which is manufactured and made right here, it costs 50 to 80% cheaper. Does that make sense? Hell no, it doesn't make sense. But, I seen on the news a couple weeks ago this hospital that they made this this cancer drug, and they wanted $12,000 a year. So they wanted $1,000 each month. Well, there was another medicine that had been out for a while that does exactly the same thing. And this medication costs $5,000 a year. That's $7,000 cheaper. So this one hospital that they had on 2020, he says, this doctor, he says, here's a medicine that they just came up with, but it does the same thing as this, but they want almost double of what this other medication will do. So we refused to carry this medication. So for them, the hospital refusing the medication, this company got back with them and says, okay, I'll tell you what. We will sell you this medication for the same price as the other medication, but you charge your customers this much. And this doctor, he stood his ground. He said, no, I don't need to carry it. It's the same medication as the other one. Why do I want to do that? See, some people, they still have a conscience. Some people, They're not driven by the mighty dollar. They're there for the right reasons. And those are the doctors you need to find. Doctors that really care about health care and about their patients, not so much about the mighty dollar. Well, does that make sense? Can you see why I say open your eyes? Because this goes on day in, day out. This goes on every minute of the day, all around us. And half the time we're sleeping and we don't see it. And it's really when these reporters or, they get busted or they're brought to the justice that we say, oh my gosh, that really happens? Hell yeah, all the time. All the time. How many politicians, do you hear about that embezzled or stole or, was taking money under the table and stuff like that for things to happen for them? All the time. All the time. All the time. Well, I myself, I want to do something about it. I myself, I want something different. And I'm hoping that when I open your eyes to this, that you'll want to join me. Well, now instead of like drunk drivers, now we're going up against drug drivers, people that are on drugs, which we should, The whole thing is, in these laws, if we would put something on there to, to help these people that are addicts, and find some solutions, some treatments, to help people instead of just to kick them when they're down. Again, addiction, it's not a choice. It's not a choice. It's not in their hands. And when you're an addict and you go without your medicine, it's like the worst flu symptoms that you ever had. And that's what you're going up against. And a lot of people that are addicts, they say, I don't want to feel that sickness. They'll keep taking their medication, but it's, they don't want to go through the withdrawals. A lot of times it's when we take these opiates or these pain pills for pain, as our body gets used to it, we'll start doubling up on the medicine. And then when that doesn't work, we'll add to it maybe alcohol or something. And that's why you get a lot of these drug overdoses. So, again, I'm just a father that lost a child, just trying to educate you on the realities of addiction and drug abuse and drug addiction, drug overdoses and stuff. Every 19 minutes we have somebody going to emergency for a drug overdose. Every 19 minutes. That's crazy. That's crazy. They're trying to pass this law. It's called the Good Samaritan Law. To allow over-the-counter sale of naloxone. It's a medication used to counter the effects of an opioid overdose. And they have a hard time passing this. I think our governor, he just passed it so that emergency workers will carry this drug with them. That's like the fire department, the fire departments, police, and also like people in emergency, ambulances and stuff. But this should be, it should be out there for, easy access. But all we can do is just keep fighting. If anybody is struggling with substance abuse or mental health issues in the U.S., you can call 800-662-4357. That's 1-800-662-HELP. And that's the national hotline. There's a lot of things in place. There should be a lot more, obviously. But if our voices, the louder we are, that means the more people are that are speaking, the more that we're going to get heard. And if it's a brain disease, why these doctors don't understand or know how to treat it? Well, we have 1 million doctors and only 300 or 3,000, less than 3,000 doctors that know anything about addiction or know how to treat it. Isn't that crazy? Shouldn't that be part of their schooling? And a lot of times an addict has to tell the doctor, look, you can't give me this because I'm an addict. I'll go right back to it, I don't know. I don't know. A lot of times when we hear this on the news, about addiction or whatever, we still have this stigma that this is a choice. Please educate yourself. Please take the moment, to find out more what you can do. We lose more people to addiction than diabetes or cancer. Isn't that crazy? It is. But nobody's trying to get treatment. You see, this is a sickness that's a chronic, and there's no cure for it. It's it's a one day at a time for each individual, that are trying to be clean and sober. One day at a time. But when you see somebody that's down and out, help them up. Don't kick them when they're down. Help them up. I hope that you all can hear me and join me in this fight. Because you see, I say this all the time, one hand just doesn't clap by itself. It takes all of us. It takes the village. A village to raise a child. It takes a village to get anything done. And for us to remember that when we're united, is when we get things done. When we're united, we can make really some serious changes. And that's the only way, as a people, that we can make a difference. Make a difference for your children. Make a difference for your grandchildren. Make a difference for your loved ones. Make a difference for your community. Because it takes all of us, to say enough is enough. How many more people do we got to lose? How many more has got to get affected? You see, it doesn't matter if it's my child or the neighbor's child or somebody that lives in another town. We need to all be united. These are all our children. All of us need to get involved. In 3 years, we've been in front of 45,000 kids. That doesn't include the faculties of these schools. But we still get a lot of resistance. I don't understand why. I know why, because you see, when they bring this out in the forefront, they're afraid that they're going to lose kids to other schools or whatever. That's a way of, like it's any better, the grass is greener on the other side, right? Well, it's not. It's happening everywhere. It doesn't matter what school you go to. It doesn't matter what town you live in. And I don't care if you want to keep your head in the sand as much as you want. Wake up. Wake up, see reality for what it is. Because it's happening everywhere. Addiction does not discriminate. It does not discriminate. It don't care how much money you got or what your profession is. Addiction happens to everybody. We're all affected by this. They say 10% of us, okay, will have this addiction gene. But it affects 100% of the people. 100% of us are affected by this. That means all of us. Whether we want to say yes it is or not. It is. It is. Hey, look around your neighborhood. It used to be okay to see that the town drunk or, those people, they're falling on their face. And it was funny. It really isn't funny when you think about it. This is somebody's child, somebody's father, somebody's mother, somebody's grandfather. But they're sick. It's a sickness. And the sooner that we can get this in our head that this is a brain disease, the sooner the treatment will begin. The sooner that we force these politicians to pass some serious laws, not to just keep adding more and more prisons, the sooner we will have treatment centers and people that are working about healing. Because you see, there's no compassion. People are looked upon or down on because they are addicts. I used to be that same person, but I've educated myself. I'm not that same person anymore. And I realize that this is a sickness and this is an epidemic that goes on every minute of the day. And it's only us that can break the stigma and start treating these sick people. Locking them away does not make it go away. But treatment, healing, compassion, love, support, that's what it takes. That's what it takes. And all these people that we have in this professional field of any sort, hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. You know what? It's because it's happening in their families too. It's happening in their families. But they don't want to open their eyes to this. It's a sickness. They want to just stay with this stigma, and, it's in their hands. This is what they choose for themselves. I will let you know that nobody grows up wanting to be an addict. That's the last thing they want to do. But again, it's a brain disease, and these people are inapt, and they don't know why the feelings that they have or why they feel the way they do. And it's not people that that aren't educated or aren't great in sports or great minds. It's just people that are sick. It's people that are sick. Please join me in this fight. Again, I want to let you know that we're going to be at Waterford next month on the 5th. And that's community parent chasing the dragon. We're going to be at the Waterford Christian Association. It's at 1585 Crescent Lake Road in Waterford at 7 p.m. November 5th. Then Lake Fenton High School, November 12th. is for the middle schoolers, and that's at 9:50 a.m. at the Lake Fenton High School on Laring Road. That's in Linden. Okay, then we'll be right back there on the 17th at the high school for the high schoolers at 1 o'clock. Now, it's open for you guys to come. Anybody that would like to come and see this presentation, you're more than welcome to. And we suggest that you do. But please call us and let us know. You can reach me at sam.jahari@communityparent.org, and we'd love to have you. Hey, I don't like to just talk to just hear myself talk. I want you to call in and let me know what your feelings are. And, whatever your thoughts are. Because let's open up the conversation, and that's the only way things really can happen and make changes. I look forward to hearing from you, and I want you to join my hand so we can make this clap happen. I want you to join me in this fight, because without you, things are a very slow process. So please join me in this fight. I will be back here next week at 1:30 on allpointstv.com. Thanks for joining me today, and look forward to seeing you next week or talking to you next week. I'm out.